Enjoy your time here and find peace in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. The sole heir of the Pei family in Yanbei, a lineage that had produced only one son for 8 generations, had passed away. Clutching his token and cradling my pregnant belly, I wept before the great gates of the Pei manor. I had only intended to blend in, steal a few free meals, and quietly slip away, but who would have expected I would go into premature labor? When I opened my eyes again, the 2 elders of the Pei family were each holding a small bundle of joy, smiling so wide they could not close their mouths. The nose looks like his, the eyes look like his too. Perhaps I should stay for another year. The second year passed. My goodness, these 2 treasures look as if they were cast from the same mold as their father. I suppose I will stay 1 more year then. The 3rd year arrived. What did you say? The son of the Pei family feigned his death, and has returned to life. I hurriedly scooped up the 2 children, turned to flee, but a pair of eyes as cold as black jade stared straight at the 3 of us. I hear that I now have both a son and a daughter, is that so? Several months prior, swarms of locusts had swept through Qingzhou, destroying the crops and triggering a famine. To survive, I secretly boarded a boat and followed it to Yanbei. I was so hungry my vision blurred. Clutching the jade thumb ring tightly in my hand, I gritted my teeth, squeezed through the crowd, and collapsed before the great gates of the Pei manor. I wept bitterly. The noble lady leading the group had a face bathed in tears. However, when she saw the jade thumb ring in my hand and my protruding belly, her expression instantly changed. She asked in horror, "Where did you get this jade thumb ring? Your belly, what is your relationship with Adrian Pai?" Overcome with grief, I did not say a word, only crying harder and harder until I rolled my eyes and fainted dead away. "Someone come quickly, carry this young lady inside." My ears were filled with chaotic and panicked voices, but in my heart, I breathed a sigh of relief, because the children in my belly had absolutely no relationship with the Pei family or Adrian. That day, I had boarded the ship which happened to belong to the Pei family to deceive others. During the day, I hid amongst the crates in the ship's hold, and only at night did I sneak out to find some leftover soup or cold food to fill my stomach. One night, I was nearly discovered. In my panic, I ducked into a luxurious cabin and accidentally bumped into a male corpse that was swollen and decomposing from being soaked in water. The jade thumb ring fell out just like that. I picked up that jade thumb ring at that moment. Seeing the quality of the jade was extraordinary, I planned to take it to a pawnshop to exchange for some silver after disembarking. But upon arriving in Yanbei, I realized the object in my hand was a hot potato. It turned out that the ship had been sent by the Pei family to Qingzhou to retrieve the body of Adrian. And the owner of this jade thumb ring was the heir of the Pei family in Yanbei, a distinguished clan. The great-grandfather was once the grand tutor at the founding of the dynasty, and half the officials in the court had studied under him. By the grandfather's generation, they abandoned politics for commerce, building a fortune from the grain trade. By the time of Master Pei, the Pei family's business spanned the realm, goods flowing freely north and south, their wealth dominating the region. As for Adrian, it was said his appearance was like that of an immortal, his talent ranking first in Yanbei. He passed the high exams at 18, but while in the prime of his youth, he requested to travel everywhere to map the mountains and rivers for the imperial court. He was truly an upright young master, like a refreshing breeze, with an unmatched demeanor. It was a pity that while passing through Qingzhou, he encountered a riot of refugees and died tragically in a foreign land. And that corpse was him. The Pei family had a single heir for 8 generations, and with his generation, the line was considered severed. After inquiring clearly, I knew if I dared to take Adrian's token to a pawnshop, I would likely be treated as a thief and dragged straight to the magistrate. Wandering hungry and thirsty for days, truly at a dead end, I came up with this plan. I was not greedy, I just needed to bluff my way into a few full meals and then I would run. That was my initial calculation. Steamed lamb, bear paw, braised deer tail, roast chicken, roast goose, smoked meat, preserved eggs, dried meat, sausages. Delicacies filled the room, the aroma spreading everywhere. I could not hold back anymore. Like a hungry tiger pouncing on prey, I ate with the force of a storm. Master Pei and Madame Pei stood by, eyes wide with shock. The doctor smiled and said, "This young lady is carrying twins, more than 7 months along. She must have fainted from hunger just now." "Twins?" Madame Pei exclaimed, stunned. She excitedly grabbed my hand. Good child, tell me, was this jade thumb ring given to you by my Adrian? I panicked, lowering my eyes, not daring to answer. Master Pei, seeing her so anxious her eyes were red, he asked with a trembling voice, "May I ask if the young lady is from Qingzhou?" I pursed my lips and nodded. His expression revealed joy. "That is right, for the past 2 years, my Adrian was in Qingzhou. What is your name, young lady? How many people are in your family?" I hesitated for a moment. "My name is Rosie Song. My family encountered famine. My parents starved to death. I am the only one left." He smiled bitterly. "The locust passing through, that is a natural disaster. My Adrian was also a child with blessings. To encounter such suffering, yet you are pregnant and have survived until now, that is destiny." I stroked my belly, the bridge of my nose suddenly stinging. At that time, Qingzhou had a great drought, and suddenly a giant swarm of locusts flew in from the west. Where they passed, crops were gone, vegetation vanished. All of Qingzhou and the miles outside the city fell into famine. In just a few short months, corpses lay scattered inside and outside the city. My parents gave me their last bite of food, and starved to death right before my eyes. Later, to survive, I used my chaste body to exchange for a single steamed bun. Unmarried yet pregnant, I did not even know who that person was. I had cried, I had panicked, I had sought death, thinking it would be better to just end it all. But in the moment closest to death, I could not help but struggle to survive. I was unwilling, unresigned. My life was exchanged for my parents' lives. How could I easily give it up? Living day by day, meal by meal. The child in my belly was stronger than I thought. It grew every day, its heart beat, and it stubbornly lived on just like me. So I gritted my teeth, for myself for it, to snatch a sliver of life from the pile of the dead, climbing onto that boat to Yanbei, to the Pei family. But now, looking at Master Pei and Madame Pei with their white hair and extreme pain, I felt a bit of regret. They were like my parents, loving their child to the bone. I should not have deceived these people, blinded by the pain of losing their son, for my own selfishness. Just as I was about to open my mouth, Madame Pei could not wait any longer. She suddenly grabbed my hand. Her phoenix eyes were red and bloodshot, tears streaming down, screaming like a madwoman. "Say it. Say this jade thumb ring was given to you by Adrian. Say the child in your belly is my son's flesh and blood." I was startled by her half-crazy appearance. "I am sorry, I do not." Suddenly, a popping sound rang out beneath me, and pain hit like a tidal wave. Madame Pei and Master Pei looked in horror at the puddle of water beneath me. Birth. She is about to give birth. It hurt. My body felt like it was being torn apart. My vision flickered between dark and light. When I opened my eyes again, Master Pei and Madame Pei were each holding a small bundle, laughing so hard they could not close their mouths. "The grandson's nose looks so much like our Adrian." "That is right. The granddaughter's eyes also look like Adrian, just like him when he was small." I stared blankly at them, then looked at the two scrawny little bundles in their arms, all wrinkled up. I could not even see their shapes clearly. Did they really look alike? While I was still dazed, Madame Pei sat down by my bed, her face full of guilt. "It is all my fault. I scared you just now. I was too impatient. You are a young lady. There are things difficult to speak of, and I even caused you to have a premature birth. If anything happened to my grandson and granddaughter, what would I do?" Master Pei grinned and said, "Your body is too weak. If you had given birth outside, I fear, fortunately you found the Pei family. Fortunately, Dr. Sun was here today. Although the little ones are born weak, the Pei family lacks nothing. I told you, you are truly a young lady with blessings." The words I intended to say were ultimately swallowed back down. He was right. If I had given birth outside, it would likely have been 3 lives lost. And now, if I told the truth, the children and I would only be kicked out the door. At that time, only death would await us. The thought gradually became clear. Since it was already like this and I was not greedy for more, I would just mooch for another year. I pretended to wipe my tears. "I am sorry. I am not a virtuous woman. Several months ago by the Qingzhou River, Adrian and I had an illicit affair without name or title, and then I became pregnant." I frowned, the appearance of that corpse suddenly flashing in my mind. I still remember clearly, there was a crescent-shaped birthmark on his chest. "That is right. I said so, it must be." Master Pei and Madame Pei held each other's hands tightly, tears falling. "This is too good. Our Pei family has descendants, we have a grandson and a granddaughter." Finally, the grief of the two elders was somewhat soothed. After Adrian's body was buried, the two elders of the Pei family solemnly recorded the names of the grandson and granddaughter into the family genealogy. The Pei family had no close relatives, those attending were mostly business partners and friends. Master Pei personally named the grandson Jasper Pei and the granddaughter Pearl Pei. And my name, Rosie, was also written into the genealogy, with the status of Adrian's official wife. When they proposed this, I waved my hands in panic. No need, no need, my status is not worthy. Madame Pei rarely looked so stern. Rosie, you have achieved a great merit. Adrian passed away, but you left us 2 golden grandchildren. Do you know? You have broken the fate of 8 generations of single heirs in our Pei family. I smiled stiffly. Was it possible that the fate was broken because these 2 golden grandchildren were not actually descendants of the Pei family? It seemed I was riding a tiger and could not get off. The Pei family in Yanbei had illustrious power. The day I arrived caused quite a stir, and then I gave birth to a pair of twins for the Pei family. I do not know when it started, but someone spread the words I slipped and said that day. Now, the story between Adrian and me had been turned into a script by outsiders. The whole world knew. The noble young master, cold and self-restrained, fell in love at first sight with a pure and innocent girl. By the Qingzhou River, thunder struck, the fire of love burned, and they made clouds and rain together. The noble young master died in chaotic times. The girl carried his child thousands of miles to Yanbei, giving birth to a pair of infants. How could the Pei family's line be severed? The Pei descendants are numerous. Who exactly wrote this script? Master Pei stroked his beard, looking calm and smug. I wrote it. Who told those old geezers to always say my Pei family has thin bloodlines? Now I can hold 2 children at once and make them red-eyed with jealousy. A few months later, the Pei Manor held a banquet, and indeed people came. Really red-eyed, I sat aside with Madame Pei. A young lady in a pink dress with red-rimmed eyes stared at me unblinkingly. Were you really with Brother Adrian by the river? I felt a bit guilty, deliberately pretending to be shy and embarrassed. Seeing me like this, she became even more anxious, pointing at Jasper and Pearl, snorting coldly. I see they do not look like Brother Adrian at all. You saw the Pei family's wealth, so you deliberately came to deceive us, right? As soon as these words were spoken, an old man behind her also looked at me with unkind eyes. Madam, I also find this young lady's appearance too strange. This matter still needs careful investigation. My heart suddenly tightened. I only felt his voice was a bit familiar, but I could not recall where I had heard it. Madame Pei's face immediately turned cold. If anyone else dares to humiliate my daughter-in-law, dares to doubt the identity of Jasper and Pearl, then from now on, do not expect to step foot through the great gates of the Pei family. The expressions of everyone present changed slightly, and no one dared to say another word. After they left, seeing I was still uneasy, Madame Pei told me the identities of those 2 people. It turned out the young lady was named Cynthia Shen, considered a childhood sweetheart of Adrian. Do not blame her. Cynthia is just too obsessed with Adrian. And that old man is Cynthia's father, Victor Shen, the one who personally went to Qingzhou to bring Adrian's body back. He is your Uncle Shen. The Pei family has a large business and used to help his father and him a lot. And he watched Adrian grow up from childhood. He is just too concerned about the Pei family and Adrian. Do not take it to heart. I nodded. So that was it. No wonder I found his voice familiar. From then on, the 2 elders of the Pei family cherished the 2 children like pearls and treasures. They also treated me like a biological daughter. They were gentle, approachable, and never made things difficult for anyone. I came from a rough background. Although I could read and write a few words, I was not skilled in poetry or songs. They had an illustrious family background, but were not conservative at all, nor did they force me to learn etiquette or rules. On the contrary, seeing me bustling about in the yard growing vegetables, sowing rice, and planting melons, Master Pei smiled until his eyes narrowed. Your grandfather also liked these things. Come to think of it, our Pei family originally rose from the farmland. Rosie, you are truly a member of the Pei family. My face reddened slightly. I took the opportunity to mention the locust to him. My parents were genuine farmers. Since I was small, I followed them in the fields. Now living in the Pei family, although I do not worry about food and clothing, since the locust disaster, I have always had a knot in my heart. I want to clarify why such swarms of locusts appeared. I want to prevent it. I want people to no longer go hungry, to no longer starve to death. He pondered for a while and then said, locusts appearing in such large swarms is indeed rare, but I vaguely remember hearing your grandfather mention it when I was small. Although I do not remember clearly, your grandfather left behind a handwritten notebook. I will send someone to find it and give it to you later. My eyes lit up. If that is so, then it is wonderful. In the handwritten notebook of the Pei ancestor, there were indeed records about locusts, but only a few short lines, not detailed at all. It wrote that locusts often appear after a great drought. No wonder Qingzhou had a locust invasion right after the great drought. Afraid of fire, afraid of water. All things are born with mutual reinforcement and mutual inhibition. To cure the root cause, one must distinguish the species of locusts, determine the time of occurrence, and understand their habits. But how to distinguish? How to treat? The ancestors' notes did not specify. Therefore, every day I buried myself in the fields, observing insects, catching insects, looking for insects, tilling the soil and planting. I worked when the sun rose and rested when the sun set. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. Jasper and Pearl could already stumble around and roll in the mud in the fields. Before long, one after the other, they pulled up a sweet melon and wobbled over to present it to Master P and Madame Pei. "Grandpa, Grandma, eat." Master Pei and Madame Pei lovingly picked the two of them up. Our Jasper and Pearl truly look more like their father as they grow. That is right, exactly as if cast from the same mold. I looked up at them, my heart softening, the corners of my eyes curving involuntarily. I thought perhaps I could stay for another year. Waiting and waiting, in the blink of an eye, another year passed. As usual, I was in the fields catching insects, and Jasper and Pearl were imitating me, digging for insects in the dirt. Suddenly, a terrified scream rang out from the courtyard. The young master has returned. The three of us moved in unison, inching our bottoms over a bit, not even bothering to lift our heads. Until the maid, Xiaokui, ran right up to me, her eyes shining. "Madam, the young master is back." I looked up, casually wiping away sweat. "Which young master?" "Your husband. The father of the little young master and little Miss Adrian, young Master Pei." In an instant, I felt like I had been struck by lightning. "What? Is he not already dead?" Xiaokui smiled radiantly. "Not dead, the young master is not dead, he has returned. Returned to reunite with Madame and the family." I felt dizzy and lightheaded. You go out to the courtyard and wait for me first. I will go change my clothes." "Yes." Waiting for Xiaokui to leave, I held one child in each arm, my legs moving as if greased, and dashed straight in the opposite direction. Suddenly, bam, I slammed into a wall of a person. I slowly looked up. A pair of eyes as cold as black jade stared straight at the three of us. I hear that I now have both a son and a daughter. My whole body froze. The person before me was tall and slender, standing with a jade-like elegance. His appearance was flawless, truly an immortal countenance, shining like a moon hanging in the sky. His brows, his eyes, that exquisite nose. They really did look very much like Jasper and Pearl. No wonder Master P and Madame Pei believed it so readily. Jasper and Pearl, not understanding the situation, were unhappy seeing me suddenly stop and cried out, "Mother, Jasper still wants to fly. Mother, Pearl wants to too." Seeing me standing motionless, the two of them flopped down, angrily using their hands and feet covered in mud to push the person in front of them. "You, get out of the way." The white brocade robe was instantly stamped with several small, muddy handprints. My head buzzed. I gritted my teeth and knelt to the ground with a thud. "Adrian, young Master Pei, I am not." Suddenly, a clear laugh rang out behind him. "Humph, brother Adrian, Uncle Pei, Auntie Pei, do you see? I told you so. She is a fake." It was Cynthia. Behind her stood a large crowd of people, all guests who had heard the news that Adrian was not dead and had come to offer congratulations. Leading them were Master Pei and Madame Pei, looking at me with expressions of uncertainty and shock. "Rosie, you." Cynthia's father, Victor, stepped forward, staring at me with cold eyes. "Brother Pei, you have all been deceived by this woman's innocent appearance. From beginning to end, she is a fraud. For the past 2 years, I have sent people to Qingzhou to investigate time and again, and finally found a clue. Adrian and this woman had absolutely no interaction. The so-called riverside encounter in Qingzhou was entirely fabricated." He then pointed aggressively at Jasper and Pearl. "These two children are clearly bastards." Jasper and Pearl were frightened by Victor's ferocious appearance, their mouths twisted, and then they burst into loud wails. "Jasper is scared. Boo-hoo-hoo. Pearl is scared too." Large, round teardrops fell like pearls. These two children had been pampered in the Pei manner since they were small. They were smart and quick-witted, treated as treasures in the palms of the two grandparents. They had never heard a harsh word, so how could they bear such grievance? The two elders immediately flew into a rage, rushing forward to hug the two little bundles tightly. "Victor, do not speak nonsense. We are not yet blind or deaf. Jasper and Pearl look like this, have temperaments like this. If they are not descendants of the Pei family, whose descendants are they? Seeing they did not believe him, Victor's face turned pale green. He could only grit his teeth and turn to Adrian, who was standing aside. Is it true or not? It will be clear soon enough. Adrian, tell your parents quickly whether this woman and those two bastards are frauds or not. Adrian glanced coldly at me, his gaze lingering on Jasper and Pearl for a long time. After a while, he slowly uttered a single word, Wes. Cynthia excitedly clenched her handkerchief, her eyes filled with joy. Victor threw his head back and laughed loudly. Ha ha. The bodies of the two Pi elders trembled. What? The children are my children. That voice was clear and cold, but when it landed, it weighed 1,000 pounds. I stared blankly at him. The expressions of everyone around constantly shifted. Victor was so angry he nearly smoked. Talking nonsense. How could that be? The two Pei elders joyfully hugged the two children, kissing them repeatedly. Cynthia's eyes suddenly turned red, and she looked at him resentfully. So, brother Adrian, being with her by the Qingzhou River. Is that true? My eyes widened. My heart, which had just settled, leaped back up to my throat. Everyone wore expressions of eager curiosity, looking simultaneously at Adrian. His pupils contracted, and his handsome face darkened a few shades. It took a long time before he reluctantly uttered a word, Mchem. Cynthia could no longer hold it back and burst into tears. So that night, thunder struck and passion ignited. You and her really shared a bed. Adrian glanced at me indifferently, his dark eyes swirling with ink. Mem. Cynthia could not listen anymore. She covered her face, sobbing, and ran away. Her father, Victor, glared once, then angrily flicked his sleeves and left. The two Pei elders chuckled teasingly, raised their eyebrows at me, and then waved for everyone to withdraw. In a moment, only Adrian, shrouded in gloom, and I, standing dumbfounded like a statue, remained in the courtyard. The atmosphere in the courtyard was oppressively heavy. What a thunder struck and passion ignited. What a scene of making clouds and rain together. You truly have courage as big as the sky. Adrian smiled faintly, staring at me with eyes full of mockery. My cheeks felt a bit hot, wishing I could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Young Master Pei, you truly misunderstand me. Those words were spread by Master Pei, not me. He snorted coldly, his gaze suddenly stopping and falling upon the vegetable patch in the front yard. That place originally grew a forest of plum blossoms, extremely elegant. Later, Master Pei saw me burrowing into the fields all day and, fearing I would get tired, had people remove all the plum trees and cultivate it into rows of vegetables. Now, rice on the left, vegetables on the right, and quite a few melons planted in the back. Indeed, it no longer had anything to do with the word. I watched his face turn darker and darker, and stepped forward uneasily. This place, He did not even bother to hear me out. Turning around and walking straight into the room, I scurried in after him and, with a thud, knelt straight on the floor again. I am sorry. I did not intend to deceive the master and madam, nor did I have any intention of seizing your belongings, and I certainly never thought of coveting the Pei family fortune. He indifferently lifted his eyelids, his long slender fingers tapping lightly on the table. Oh, if you are not greedy for money, then why did you come to the Pei family? Do you really not know what it signifies for the Pei family to acknowledge the two children you gave birth to? I choked for a moment. I originally only intended to eat a few full meals and then leave, but his expression suddenly turned cold. But you saw the Pei family's glory and wealth, their millions in assets, so you could not bear to leave. You wanted to use those two children to seize the Pei family's entire fortune and leave us without an heir. That was your calculation. My throat was dry, and I shook my head hurriedly. No, it is not like that. I boarded the Pei family's boat from Qingzhou. I picked up your jade thumb ring. I know I am despicable. The children in my belly are not yours, yet I used dirty tricks to get the Pei family to accept them. I crawled on my knees to him, my eyes red. But I wanted to live too much. I was so hungry. Only by being full could my children and I have a way to survive. I really had no other choice. Cold fingertips were suddenly placed on the side of my neck, causing my whole body to tremble. He gripped my neck, killing intent flashing in the depths of his eyes. Do you really not know? Or are you deliberately playing dumb and making up such a clumsy story? If Jasper and Pearl are not my children, then whose children are they? That night by the Qingzhou River. Did you not start calculating against me from that moment? My face turned pale, and I looked at him without blinking. What are you saying? Jasper's nose, Pearl's eyes. Those small faces gradually merged with Adrian's face. It turned out it was him. It was him. he said. Whose person are you? Looking at today, you are not from the Shen family. He frowned tightly. Is it the person behind the Qingzhou incident? The Prime Minister's people, or General Lu's people? My throat felt sour and blocked. I gritted my teeth, refusing to say another half-word. His eyes turned colder, and his fingertips tightened. My throat stung with pain, and tears welled up, falling drop by drop onto the back of his hand. He seemed burned, abruptly letting go, a look of surprise flashing in his eyes. You. In the blink of an eye, he became cold and hard again. Even if you do not speak, I will investigate who the person behind you is. I collapsed onto the floor in a sorry state, my voice trembling. Then just go investigate. He seemed not to expect me to say that, his eyes becoming dark and unfathomable. If that is so, before I investigate everything clearly, I fear it is inconvenient for Miss Song to leave the Pei family. I hope you continue to act the role of the young mistress of the Pei family well, to be a good daughter-in-law. Otherwise, do not blame me for being ruthless. The next day, Adrian entered the palace. It was heard that he presented another part of the territorial map. The emperor wanted to bestow an official title as a reward, but he refused the grace, saying only that after a narrow escape from death, he now just wanted to spend more time with his wife, children, and parents. The emperor was deeply moved. When court adjourned, he bestowed many rewards. From that day on, Adrian closed his doors and stayed inside the manor all day. Perhaps due to the blood connection, Adrian became increasingly close to Jasper and Pearl. When free, he taught the children to read and write, teased them, and patiently coaxed them. But towards me, he was extremely cold. As for Cynthia, yesterday she ran away crying, but for some reason, today she acted as if nothing had happened. She continued to come to the Pei family, solicitously asking after Adrian, and even played with Jasper and Pearl alongside him. She looked exactly like the young mistress of the Pei family. These words were whispered in my ear by Xiaoqui. After that day, I lay in bed for several days. I did not want to talk, did not want to eat, and did not even bother going out to the fields I loved most. Everyone thought my state was because Adrian was cold to me. Master Pei and Madame Pei, wanting to cheer me up, even pushed Adrian into my room so we could be alone. But they did not know that Adrian and I were disgusted just looking at each other. He suspected me, and did not like me. And as for me, my guilt towards him gradually turned into dislike. In the eyes of outsiders, he was like a bright moon and clear breeze, exceptionally talented. If not for that night in Qingzhou years ago, I would look at him and think the same. But I still remembered very clearly, that year, when my life hung by a thread, the words of that person. Is there any girl from a good family? A chaste body exchanged for a single steamed bun. In a year of famine, just one cake was enough to make people slaughter each other. Enough to make people willingly sell themselves cheap. Some struggled desperately to live, while others trampled on people to satisfy their lust. Young mistress, if you do not show your face, Cynthia will snatch your position away. And Jasper and Pearl too, they are about to acknowledge her as mother. Xiaoqiu was worried to the point of tears. But in my heart, I became calmer and calmer. I reached out and wiped her tears. So where exactly was I wrong? Was I wrong to deceive two old people because I wanted to live? Or was I wrong to sell myself for a steamed bun? If there was a choice, who would not want to live cleanly and uprightly? How much nobler is he, Adrian, than me? Xiaoqui, be good, comb my hair. I have been hungry for days, I want to eat. When I arrived at the front hall for the meal, Cynthia was sitting in my usual seat, patiently talking to Jasper. Adrian sat beside her, looking at Pearl with gentle eyes. Indeed, just as Xiaoqui said, they looked exactly like a family of three. Mother! Seeing me arrive, the two little ones ran over on their short legs, waddling, and threw themselves into my arms with grievances. I patted their heads. All right, be good. Go eat quickly. Pearl turned her head and glared at Cynthia. You, get up. This is my mother's seat. Cynthia's face looked a bit unsightly, but immediately after, she smiled. Pearl, do you not know, this seat was originally mine. Your father and I have always sat like this for over 10 years. Adrian raised his eyebrows slightly but said nothing. Master Pei and Madame Pai were about to open their mouths but were cut off by my sentence. It is just eating a meal. Sitting anywhere is still sitting. I naturally sat in the empty seat next to them, casually picking up food and eating. After finishing one bowl, I called for another. Seeing me eating and drinking as usual, smiles finally blossomed on Master Pei and Madame Pei's faces. Someone come, bring the pork trotters and roast duck the young mistress likes. I curved my eyes. Thank you, father. Mother. Cynthia glanced at me with disdain and intended to continue talking to Jasper. Unexpectedly, Pearl suddenly cried loudly, demanding to eat insects. The expressions of Master Pei and Madame Pei changed, but seeing her crying endlessly, they finally ordered someone to bring up a plate of fried locusts. Right under Adrian's baffled gaze and Cynthia's horror, Pearl ate several in a row. I watched the corner of her mouth twitch. This matter was actually caused by me. Before, to verify if fire could eradicate locusts at the root, I once burned locusts. After being roasted, the locusts emitted an unusually fragrant smell. Back then, Jasper was still small and liked to put everything in his mouth, so he stuffed a locust in and ate it. Since then, he became obsessed with that taste, unable to correct it no matter what. As she ate, her eyes shone brightly. Now let's play a game. Whoever eats an insect, Pearl will love that person. She held an insect and handed it to Jasper. Brother, for you. Jasper shrank back in fear. Pearl glared. Brother, if you do not eat, Pearl will not love you anymore. Jasper's small face crumpled, but in the end, he took it and swallowed it into his stomach. She turned to the two Pei grandparents. Grandpa, Grandma, it is your turn. The two elders closed their eyes and also stuffed one each into their mouths. Pearl clapped her hands in satisfaction, glanced at Adrian with a gloomy face, and automatically ignored him. She looked up at Cynthia. Auntie, it is your turn. Cynthia was already scared to the point of constant nausea. Quick, take it away quickly. I do not eat such disgusting things. Pearl's eyes immediately turned red. Hemph, then Jasper will not love Auntie anymore, and does not want Auntie to be Jasper's mother anymore. Hearing this, Cynthia froze. Finally, for the sake of the word, mother, she opened her mouth with difficulty. Pearl nodded in satisfaction, turned back and saw I was about to use chopsticks to pick up a locust, and ran over, waddling. Mother, no need. If mother does not eat, Jasper still loves mother. I was slightly stunned, then could not help but laugh. Anyone with sharp eyes could see that in this scene, Pearl was deliberately teasing Cynthia. Cynthia was angry until her face turned bright red. Madame Pei, however, was extremely protective of her grandchild. She is just a stubborn child. Cynthia, do not hold a grudge against Pearl. Master Pei pondered for a moment, then suddenly said with a serious face, that is right. My grandchild is rude. It would be better for Miss Shen to come to the Pei family less often in the future. Cynthia's eyes widened, stammering, Uncle Pai, but before was before. Now Adrian is married. If this continues, I fear it will hurt Rosie's heart. I was stunned, completely unexpected that Master Pei would stand up for me like that. Cynthia wanted to say something more, but was cut off by Master Pei. Cynthia, you also know. The ancestral rules of the Pei family established long ago state that Pei descendants absolutely do not take concubines. Cynthia cried and ran out again. Master Pei and Madame Pei carried the full Jasper and Pearl out for a walk, leaving only Adrian and me at the table. He could not help but make a sarcastic remark. You are truly good at coaxing them. I gnawed on a pig trotter, not even bothering to look at him. Naturally. Did you not say yourself that I am a good daughter-in-law? He seemed not to expect me to answer like that. His face stiffened, and then he stared at me. Truly high-level tactics. I really want to see who the person standing behind you exactly is. I snorted coldly. Then just investigate. Did you not say that day that you were very capable? Why have so many days passed and you still have not investigated it? He was angry until his face turned green, losing his usual calm demeanor. He roared, you just wait. I put down the pig trotter and wiped my mouth. I am waiting. Just a few days later, the imperial court underwent earth-shaking changes. The prime minister and the third prince fell from power. It turned out that during the famine in Qingzhou that year, the court had originally allocated 2 million silver taels for relief, but the entire sum was embezzled by the third prince's faction in collusion with over 100 officials in Qingzhou. This matter should have been buried deep in the ground, along with the 10,000 citizens of Qingzhou who died tragically. But unexpectedly, Adrian was in Qingzhou at that time. When such a major event occurred, the letters he sent out, one after another, received no reply. Suspicion arose in his heart, and he investigated layer by layer, finally disturbing the third prince all the way in Yanbei. The third prince's faction initially wanted to recruit him, but Adrian was the type who yielded to neither hard nor soft tactics. So they decided to act, resolving to kill him to silence him. As for Adrian, it was precisely like that. A narrow escape from death, that he was able to return. Hearing this story, my eyes turned red. I sat in the fields for a long time. I thought it was a natural disaster, but unexpectedly, it was a man-made calamity. The struggles in the court caused thousands of common people to pay with their lives. My parents could have survived. I wiped my tears and, just as I turned my head, saw Adrian standing in the distance. Seeing him looking at me with scrutinizing eyes again, I said irritably, "Well, have you investigated the person behind me yet? The Prime Minister has fallen, so what about that General Liu? Have you investigated clearly?" His face stiffened. His thin lips moved slightly, but ultimately he did not say a word. Adrian is avoiding me. He is guilty. I understood clearly in my heart why I had missed him several times when looking for him, so I came up with a plan. That night, the moon was dark and the wind was high. I kicked the door of his room open with one foot, then immediately retreated backward forcefully. Who takes a bath in the middle of the night? In the blink of an eye, Adrian stood at the door, his face green, hastily draping an outer robe over himself. I have to say, he was born truly too handsome. His handsome features were still wet, enchanting enough to steal a soul. His black hair dripped water, and his white shirt was more than half wet, clinging tightly to his body. On his firm chest, a crescent-shaped birthmark was faintly visible. That is right, I remember that birthmark clearly. The corpse also had it. Seeing me staring blankly at his chest, the tips of his ears suddenly turned red. He gritted his teeth and said, "Do you have no shame?" I snapped back to reality, remembering the serious matter, and spread my palm in front of him. He looked at the few locusts in my hand, his expression becoming a bit unsightly. "You barged in at midnight just to show me this." I nodded seriously. "Yes, they are not normal. Yesterday I discovered dozens of locusts flying up from the ground. I suspect the locusts are afraid they will reappear." He frowned. "You are overthinking. How could it be possible in such a short time?" I cut him off, my face full of worry. "You do not know that after locusts eat their fill in one place, they fly to another. Eat, then fly, repeating like that. While they eat, eggs have already been laid in the ground. Each one lays at least 99 eggs. If we do not stop it early, I fear Yanbei will repeat the tragedy of Qingzhou." Adrian's expression changed slightly, but he still hesitated. "Even assuming what you say is true, the locusts in Qingzhou that year were due to a great drought." I interrupted him. "Although there is no great drought now, it has not rained for a month. Believe me. For 3 years, I have never stopped thinking about them. Very soon, something big will happen." His expression finally became serious. "But a few days ago, the emperor went to the summer villa outside the city to escape the heat. I will set off immediately." Ultimately, Adrian was still one step too late. Just as the sky was turning light, the first wave of locusts flooded out like a torrent from the vast wasteland behind the summer villa. When Adrian rushed to the villa, the emperor and the concubines in the palace were already terrified. And the second wave of locusts struck, just as the group entered the city gates, covering the sky. "Protect His Majesty." Dark clouds weighed down the sky, stretching for more than 10 miles. One layer followed another, ceaselessly. The emperor's carriage overturned, and the people were in chaos. Adrian and the imperial guards swung their swords in the air, but they could not harm the swarm of locusts in the slightest. In the midst of this dire emergency, the sound of gongs and drums roared to the sky, and thick smoke rolled through the air. I rushed forward holding a torch, shouting loudly, "Locusts fear noise, fear fire. Burn them for me. Today, anyone who has merit in exterminating locusts, come to the Pei family to collect 10 silver taels." Behind me, dozens of family servants roared in unison, "Yes." The people, who were running in panic, heard there was a reward and immediately picked up sticks, lit fires, and rushed up together to burn the locusts. In an instant, everyone's spirit soared high. I also swung my stick with all my might. Suddenly, my hand felt light, and a warm breath passed by my ear. I froze for a moment. The torch in my hand had been snatched by Adrian. He blocked me behind him, pushing me back. I looked up, our eyes meeting. The usual coldness on his face was gone. Instead, there was a bit of joy mixed in his gaze. Before I could recover, the sky became clear, and the ground was covered with burnt locust bodies. The emperor had also recovered his calm and cold demeanor, looking at me with eyes full of praise. "Where are you from?" I hurriedly knelt down. "Reporting to your majesty, this commoner is Rosie." Adrian stepped forward, kneeling beside me. His voice was slightly raised. "Reporting to your majesty, she is this subject's wife." In the palace, the emperor smiled kindly. "Oh, so she is the young lady who traveled thousands of miles to find Yanbei, and even carried your child after you passed away. It is her." I pursed my lips and smiled, stealing a glance at Adrian, only to see him inadvertently curl his lips in a smile. Truly a woman of spirit. Minister P is indeed fortunate. The emperor looked at me. Miss Song, you are young, how do you understand locusts so well? My fingertips clenched tightly, not crying, not afraid. I replied, reporting to your majesty, this commoner is from Qingzhou. That year of famine, this commoner experienced it personally. My parents also died that year. Later, when life hung by a thread, this commoner silently swore that if I could survive, I would definitely do my utmost to find a way to treat locusts so that the people could avoid disaster and no longer suffer from hunger. Hearing this, Adrian looked sideways at me, his gaze deep. The emperor was moved. Although you are not a man, your ambition loses nothing to a gentleman. If everyone had a heart like yours, why would we have to worry about the state and the world every day, leaving those officials who only know how to eat and sit idly, while matters of loyalty and patriotism must rely on beauty? Someone come. Grant a seat. Miss Song, tell us in detail the method to treat locusts. Thanking your majesty. I presented the handwritten notebook hidden in my sleeve. For 3 years, this commoner has distinguished locust species daily, identified the time of occurrence, and learned their habits, recording everything in this book. Locusts fear fire, fear water, fear smoke. Adrian relaxed his brows. If so, I will send people to the fields to beat gongs and drums and set fires to burn them. I shook my head. If we wait until the locusts have gathered in swarms to set fires, more than half the crops in the fields will also be lost. Moreover, beating gongs and drums is effective, but it affects not only the locusts but also the birds. Minister Pei is not a farmer, and does not know that if birds encounter disaster, next year there will be no birds to eat the worms. By then, insects will breed again and crops will still suffer disaster. Adrian's method was rejected by me. Not only was he not angry, but on the contrary, his eyes shone even brighter. Then, in Madame's opinion, what should be done? I paused for a moment, continuing to present slowly. Treating locusts requires prevention and attack in parallel. According to this commoner's observation, there are 2 ways to prevent. First, locust eggs resemble honeycombs. At night, set fires by the ridges of the fields and dig pits next to the fire. Second, young locusts have not yet grown wings, so they cannot fly. Just have people dig ditches to lead water. Divide 30 people into a team, 1 person beats a drum, and the rest drive the locusts into the water ditch to exterminate them at the root. Those are the 2 ways of prevention. As for attack, there are also 2 ways. If prevention is not in time, we must quickly catch and kill. But the number of locusts is too large, relying only on the government is not enough. I ask your majesty to perfect the reward system, encouraging the people to catch locusts. Anyone who catches a dew of locusts will be rewarded with 100 coins. Before the emperor could speak, Adrian knelt down. The nation is in danger. Every common man has a responsibility. I ask your majesty to allow the Pei family to provide the reward money, so that this subject can lend a hand. The emperor's eyes were full of praise. With a beloved subject like this, we are very at ease. I continued. The second method of attack. All things generate and inhibit each other. The natural enemy of locusts is the duck. The emperor waved his hand. This is simple. We will immediately order people to catch all the ducks in the city. I glanced at Adrian and then bowed to the emperor. The Pei family can also undertake this matter. 2 years ago, this commoner and my father-in-law raised a flock of ducks at the Pei family farm, precisely to guard against this. Haha, excellent. Truly planning ahead. Since it is so, this matter is fully entrusted to you, husband and wife. The madam will take charge, and you will assist Minister Pei. What do you think? Adrian hurriedly replied. This subject obeys the command. The emperor's countenance showed great joy. If you succeed, we will definitely have a heavy reward. Thanking your majesty. Adrian had become very strange lately. Clearly, I was the leader and he was the assistant. Yet he rushed to the front for everything. He no longer coldly mocked me as before, nor did he bring up the matter of the person behind me. On the contrary, he took care of me in every way. Just like that day he snatched the torch from my hand. He took all the heavy, dirty, and tiring work for himself. I prepared for this battle for 3 years, precisely for this moment. How can I let him steal the credit? So I openly and secretly fought for work with him. He snatched the shovel from my hand. I turned around and grabbed a torch. He dug pits, I carried water. Seeing me like this, he inexplicably gritted his teeth. Are you stupid? I also glared at him. Not admitting defeat. Letting you do whatever you want is what would be truly stupid. In the midst of our fierce competition, the locust prevention work also achieved an extremely beautiful victory. In Yanbei City, a new script began to circulate. The Pei couple, with one heart for the people. Husband and wife united to save 10,000 citizens from fire and water. Their love moved heaven and earth, causing people to admire them. Just ask in Yanbi, who could have such a blessed daughter-in-law? Naturally, it is our Pei family. Father, did you write this one too? Master Pei pretended to be deep and mysterious. Lower your voice, lower your voice. Adrian curled the corners of his lips slightly but said nothing. Just as everything was going well, a sudden change occurred. That day, Adrian and I were preparing to conclude the complete victory of this battle when dozens of men in black suddenly appeared. Every move they made was aimed straight at Adrian's vital points. Our side consisted entirely of farming women. How could they fight against those men in black? After a few rounds of fighting, Adrian gradually fell to a disadvantage, and blood was already visible on his body. Actually, with his skills, if he were alone, he could still escape, but he had to worry about me. Hearing only a soft groan, a sharp blade stabbed straight into his chest. If this continues, I fear both he and I will lose our lives here. I gritted my teeth, grabbed a handful of mud, and shouted loudly, "Watch out, there is poison." The men in black retreated in panic. By the time they realized it was just mud, I had already carried Adrian and vanished without a trace. Fortunately, I usually eat a lot and do heavy work, so carrying Adrian was not too exhausting. My steps were like flying as I carried him and ran straight ahead, not daring to look back, only knowing to run for my life. But the further I ran, the more I felt something was wrong. Adrian's body became hotter and hotter, his heavy panting blowing right by my ear. In a flash, a soft sensation suddenly came from my cheek. My whole body shook. No way, is he sick? Daring to take liberties with me at a time like this. Anger rose in my heart, and I flung my hand, throwing him down. You shameless lecher. However, seeing him fall to the ground, his face bright red, his hands unconsciously pulling at his clothes, revealing a flushed chest in just a few movements. It was an aphrodisiac again. I froze, then gave a stiff laugh. If you do not get the antidote, will you die? Adrian groaned softly. I crossed my arms over my chest, staring at Adrian struggling on the ground. Save him or not save him. When I dragged Adrian's corpse back to the Pei family, the manor had long since turned into a chaotic mess. In just a few short days, storms rose in Yanbei. On the very day Adrian and I were attacked and went missing, the palace was attacked by locusts, and those locust swarms turned to attack people. The emperor was swarmed by the locusts and fell gravely ill, unable to rise. It was said the current son of heaven had offended the gods, and the locusts were messengers sent by the heavens to punish him. Led by General Lu within the palace, they hurriedly burned incense and set up altars. Strange phenomena appeared continuously at the altar, and the signs of the true dragon pointed straight to the Pei family. Because Adrian had gained resounding fame among the people for treating the locusts, he was loved and supported by the commoners. In an instant, rumors spread among the populace. Adrian has the appearance of the heavenly dragon. I suddenly clenched my fingers tightly. They wanted to push the Pei family to their deaths. Immediately after, my expression changed completely. I dragged Adrian's body and collapsed crying before the great gates of the Pei manor. Father, mother, my husband has died again. The two Pei elders were already in turmoil due to the rumors. Now hearing the news of Adrian's death, they immediately fainted on the spot. I hurriedly supported them. Quickly, call a doctor. Amidst the chaos in the Pei manor, someone finally could not resist showing his face. General Lu led troops to surround the Pei family. The Pei family dares to fake the appearance of the true dragon, plotting rebellion. I rushed forward. My husband is dead. What do we have to plot rebellion with? General Lu indifferently looked up. Oh, then it is fleeing out of fear of punishment. He looked at the Pei family, young and old. This general can give you a chance to atone for your crimes. If the Pei family agrees to offer all their assets to me, I will spare you from death. Master Pei panted heavily, shouting in anger. I see you are the one who wants to rebel. Even if my Pei family loses its fortune, we will absolutely not collude with vermin like you. As soon as the words fell, Victor, bowing, suddenly appeared before the Pei family gates. He respectfully offered up the Pei family seal. General, with this seal, there is no need for that old man. You can mobilize the Pei family's silver however you wish. General Lu laughed loudly. Haha, Pei, look at that. You refused to give it, but someone offered it up with both hands. I see you are truly seeking death. He took the seal and turned to Victor. This general sees you as a talent. From now on, you are in charge of managing these assets. As for these fake weaklings and invalids, they are useless to this general. Hand them over to you to deal with. Victor nodded repeatedly. Many thanks, General. Many thanks, General. After they left, Master Pei furiously spat towards Victor. Victor, my Pei family has never treated you badly, yet you repay kindness with enmity. Victor looked ferocious. Never treated me badly. I worked like an ox and a horse for your Pei family, and what did I get in the end? If you had agreed earlier to let my Cynthia be the daughter-in-law, Adrian would not have died in Qingzhou. Master Pei's body trembled. So it was not an accident, you did it with your own hands. But not only did he not die, he even had children and descendants. Then what was all my painstaking planning for? Do not blame me. You forced me into this. Seeing Master Pei agitated, I hurriedly stood in front of him. Murderous intent flashed in Victor's eyes. Do not worry. Very soon, your whole family will be reunited. The Pei manor was in extreme panic from top to bottom. Outside, heavy troops stood guard, not even a fly could fly out. Master Pei and Madame Pei held Jasper and Pearl, dragging each other back to our courtyard. I looked at the sky outside illuminated by firelight, my hands sweating cold sweat. Turning my head, Master Pei had already stuffed a bundle into my hand. Madame Pei pushed Jasper and Pearl in front of me. Rosie, go quickly. While speaking, Master P opened a secret passage under the bed. I was shocked again and again. This path leads outside. Rosie, take Jasper and Pearl and go quickly. My face was pale. Then, what about father and mother? If we leave, Victor will definitely not spare you. Take the children and run far away. My eyes suddenly became determined as I looked at them and said, Father, Mother, Adrian is not dead. The two were both shocked and happy. Really? I nodded. That day when I knew Adrian had been drugged with an aphrodisiac, I threw him into the lake. Not long after, a shadow guard found us. Lord Pei, why did you fall in the same place twice? Do you want me to find you a beauty again? That shadow guard. I recognized him at a glance. He was the one who held the steamed bun that year asking to exchange for a good family girl's chastity. Truly enemies on a narrow road. He and I pointed at each other simultaneously. It is him. It turned out he was a shadow guard sent by the Emperor to stay by Adrian's side. And Adrian, only now knowing the words that man spoke that year, looked at me with even more guilt. I am sorry. Seeing me crossing my arms, the guard thought of a way to feed the antidote to Adrian. I glared. You had the antidote, so why did you humiliate people back then? Learn once and become wiser. This antidote was researched with all my effort. Little girl, my words were rough, but if not for that steamed bun that year, how could you be alive today, and how could you be united as husband and wife with Lord Pei? I gritted my teeth. Adrian, now completely sober, stepped forward a few steps, blocking me tightly behind his back. Sir, making fun of another's pain is not the act of a gentleman. Later, he brought news from the Emperor. It was all a setup intentionally arranged by His Majesty. The Emperor had long held the notebook I wrote in his hands, so he was not attacked by locusts at all. The disaster in Qingzhou that year was not caused by just one faction. Added to that was the fact that Adrian clearly had not died, yet someone forged a corpse, predetermining his life and death. Therefore, they beat them at their own game, one feigned illness, one feigned death, to lure the snake out of its hole. Now that the snake was out of the hole, they were just waiting to catch it all in one net. I held my parents' hands tightly. Success or failure depends on this night. We wait until dawn. If we succeed, Adrian will come to save us. If we fail, we flee together. The third watch drum sounded. The fifth watch rang again. The night gradually faded, and a streak of red dyed the horizon. Parents held Jasper and Pearl, waiting anxiously by the mouth of the secret passage. Suddenly, a sharp shout rang out. My whole body shook. It was not Adrian. Before everyone could react, I pushed my parents, Jasper and Pearl, down the secret passage. Rosie. Mother. I immediately jumped onto the bed dressed fully, pretending to sleep. Bang. The door was kicked open. Victor rushed straight in. My hands hidden under the quilt clenched tight, then tighter, but my face remained calm. Uncle Shen truly knows no manners, barging into his niece-in-law's boudoir like this. Are you not afraid of being laughed at? Victor rolled his eyes around, his face showing clear impatience. Cut the nonsense. Where is the Pei couple? And where are those two bastards? I stretched lazily. They slept in my in-law's courtyard last night. If Uncle Shen does not mind, go look for them. He flicked his sleeves and stormed off. A long time later, he returned in a rage, obviously not finding anyone. I calmly rotated my wrist. Maybe they are at the back lake watching the fish. He glanced at me suspiciously and left again. Still not found. After several rounds like this, he finally understood I was leading him by the nose. During that time, my parents had already taken Jasper and Pearl out of the city. He was so angry he drew his blade and pointed it straight at me. "I will kill you." I sidestepped, turned, and delivered a powerful roundhouse kick straight to his ribs. Then die. But I am not one to admit defeat. If I must die, I will drag one down with me. Victor furiously swung his blade down, while the silver hairpin in my hand aimed straight for his throat. Hearing only a soft groan, the hairpin pierced deep into his neck without deviating an inch. The blade above my head never fell. Hot blood blurred my vision. In that mottled blood, that tall, slender figure stood straight, hand grasping the blood-soaked blade. Adrian. My legs went soft. He took 2 quick steps, pulling me into his arms. I came late. The faction of General Liu was completely destroyed. The state was stable, the world at peace. The emperor was greatly pleased, rewarding everyone according to their merits. Minister Pei established great merit, appointed as minister. Madame Pei is a heroine among women, titled first-rank Lady of Mandate. I stood aside and hesitated, saying, "Your Majesty, judging like this is unfair. This commoner and Adrian both nearly lost our lives. Why does he get promoted, while this commoner is just a useless lady?" Everyone gasped in cold air. Adrian recovered, hurriedly kneeling and bowing his head. "Please quell your anger, Your Majesty. Rosie does not understand the rules and offended the holy face. This subject asks to accept punishment on her behalf." The emperor, sitting on the dragon throne, heard my words and found it novel instead. "Is being a lady of mandate not good?" I looked up straight. "My husband has an official position and was even granted a residence. As for this commoner's lady of mandate title, it has nothing." The emperor laughed loudly. "You want to be an official? Want to have a residence?" I nodded vigorously. "I want to." "Interesting. We have never met a woman as interesting as this." "Good. We appoint you as the female official of Southern Peace, rank junior 3rd class, equal to the agriculture minister, specializing in agriculture and land production. Granted 1 residence. Are you satisfied?" My eyes shone. I hurriedly bowed to give thanks. "Satisfied, very satisfied. Many thanks, Your Majesty." Adrian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, because I took Jasper and Pearl and moved to live in my own residence. Master Pei and Madame Pei also packed their luggage and followed. Where the daughter-in-law is, we are there. Where the grandson and granddaughter are, we are there. Son, who told you to treat her so fiercely before? Truly living in blessings without knowing blessings. Right, and even saying she coveted the Pei family's wealth. Look, now she does not even want the house. Adrian stood before the gates of the Song residence, his face covered in black lines. On the door was pasted a paper. "Dogs and Minister Pei not allowed to enter." Pearl held a fried locust, looking up at Adrian. "Father, eat this. I will only let you be my father if you do." Adrian lowered his eyes, lips pressed tight, truly unable to open his mouth. Pearl huffed. "If you do not eat, then forget it. Someone come. Whoever eats will get to be my father." Adrian immediately snatched it, stuffed it straight into his mouth, and swallowed it whole. Clack. The gates of the Song residence slammed shut. The paper on the door fluttered, but the words were blindingly bright. A few months later, Minister Pei knelt for a long time in the palace, refusing to stand up. "Your Majesty, this subject will no longer be a minister. Life's harshest trials often reveal our true worth. Rosie's journey reminds us that survival is not shameful. It is the ultimate act of courage." Though her story began in desperation and deception, she defined her value not through a husband's title, but through her own wisdom and resilience in the face of calamity. True nobility is not inherited, it is earned in the mud of the fields and the heat of crisis. When we refuse to surrender to fate, we gain the power to rewrite our destiny, proving that even from the darkest desperation, we can build a future of dignity and hope. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe.